Sneaking up me again, are ya? What's that? You want to learn how to grow thyme? Go on, just have a sniff, go on. Now, thyme has got to be one of the most popular herbs out there, especially in Europe. People love using thyme for soup, stews, putting on meats, things like that. And what I like to do with thyme is I like to get a nice leg of lamb or cube it up for a kebab and make a thyme mix, usually a bit of rosemary and garlic. And I find that that's really, really good if you're going to slow cook something. You know, what I really, really love about thyme as well is it isn't really a bad landscaping plant. If you look behind me, this one is actually lemon thyme. And it's actually created a really, really effective ground cover plant. So, you know, most of the time you always think that thyme is just for its culinary uses, but there are many, many ornamental thymes as well. And you can get some variegated types, but generally they have a lot of good uses. So on the edge of the forest garden here, the soil around the gravel drive here is quite rocky, quite a lot of type 1 and gravel in the ground. So I decided to put a ground cover of this thyme here, and it's done really, really well. And I mean, it's spread. And what you can do with thyme is rip it out at the base, and if you can see there, you've almost got these little hair-like roots, and they are really, really easy to propagate. You can actually just take cuttings of them. So, you know, you can simply just cut your little cut in there, get your scissors, cut him, and then with this little guy, just strip the bottom leaves off, and just put that in a pot. And you don't need hormone rooting powder or anything. You just water them, leave them in a sunny, dry place, and, you know, within a matter of sort of 5-6 weeks, you'll have your own little plant. But I mean, as I say, I generally don't do it because I find you can pull them out of the base so well that it's just easy. I mean, like sage, they have this natural habit. They sort of weep, they root, and that's how they sort of spread. I mean, if you're going to go down the route of doing the ground cover, you might end up with little patches in the middle that get a little bit bare, but that's nothing to worry about. They're really, really useful for difficult areas. Like I said, what I've also got is I've got the more conventional thyme over there, and I've just used it on the sunny where the tree roots are and not much else grows. Just dig a little bit of sand into the ground. You've got to make sure they're well drained, and it's amazing. I planted a little sprig like this last year. It was just a little plant that I'd propagated on, and if you put something like that in the ground, within a year's time you'll have a big bush full of many different sprigs. And again, you can just pull them out of the base and propagate them, but you'll always have a lot for cooking if you do that. So thyme is really good. Another good one for thyme not a lot of people talk about is rockeries. If you've got a dry stone wall, or you've got an area where you've got like little Mediterranean plants, you can actually get thyme that weeps with a much more closer rocky habit. I mean, most of these herbs with their aromatic foliage are from places where there's not a lot of water, and there's the animals, the goats are walking around and they're nibbling at the herbs, and that's why usually Mediterranean regions have the aromatic to stop things from eating them. Obviously it doesn't stop us very much because we like things with a bit of pungent smell and spice, because human beings are just a little bit weird like that, really. But I've certainly had a good time growing it, and what I would say is, don't try too hard with the growing situation. They're quite easy, really suitable for a pot, but the most essential thing is getting the right time for you. I have a very, very warm climate thyme, and you can usually tell them because they're a bit more compact and the leaves are a little bit more stubby and thicker. They have more essential oil, they're a lot stronger. At the moment, if you go into a local supermarket where I live, they sell thyme in a pot, and it's got a very whippy light foliage, and I don't think it smells that good. I prefer the more kind of arid one, so I would try and grow a more Mediterranean strain of it and put it in a place on a rockery or somewhere like that, and try and put it somewhere where it will become a landscape feature. Good ground cover, as I say. So I mean, that is what I absolutely love about this herb. There's so many different practical uses in the garden as well. And another one that not a lot of people talk about when they talk about thyme is the bee value to it. If you look at these little flowers here, now this has been flowering since spring. You know, it started up at about May time. It's July now, and actually a lot of the flowers on this lemon thyme are just getting going. So you've always got bees there. And also that tight-knit habit around the ground is very good for like little spiders and beneficial insects which are going to prey on your plants. It creates a real dense mat. And a lot of the problem with a lot of gardens and landscapes today, if we just don't have enough dense foliage for little mini bees to live, and they're the things that are coming out and eating the aphids and all the other pests you've got of your vegetables and other plants you're trying to grow. Now, if you go to Mediterranean regions like Greece and Spain, some of the best honey is from areas where there's a lot of thyme growing. So a lot of arid conditions, you get this what they call thyme honey. So if you're into beekeeping or you want to produce your own honey, it might be worth planting a lot of thyme. One thing you can do with thyme, not a lot of people mention, is if you have a roof of a shed or a garage, if you're prepared to put a thick substrate down, you can quite easily put a few sprigs of this and actually create a thyme roof. It's actually very, very possible to do that as long as you have a little bit of water retention and slow free draining substrate at the top. That's great, and you know, you can have your beekeeping operation on top of roofs as well. So again, urban areas, thyme, a great one for the landscape sort of design, permaculture, things like that. If you're just a simple herb grower, just a little Mediterranean rockery is a really, really great way to use it. I've even seen a landscaping project where they had sort of broken slabs and gravel. It was a really rough, rugged patio scenario, and they'd grown the thyme just in amongst the slabs, in the gaps of the slabs, almost grown like a weed. And as you walked through, you got this lovely aroma. And as I say, the lemon thyme's really good. We usually have that with fish. Sometimes what we do actually is when we have the barbecue, at the end of the night, we just because we've got so much of it, you just yank a bit out, put it on the barbecue and just let it smoke the aroma with that beautiful lemon thyme air. So again, I would try and get a few different types of these, get the situation right. If it's somewhere like the end of a gravel driveway where not else much grows, try a little bit of it. It's something about the way this thing grows, even as it looks like it's growing like a weed, it just has this beautiful aesthetic because it's just a tidy little ball of foliage. And you know, it's almost, what I've done here is almost like a thyme lawn. So that's something you could also think about when you're growing thyme. Companion planting wise, it will go well with tomatoes and brassicas, apparently. So if you want to complement the front edge of a growing space, sometimes around the edge of these raised beds they get a little bit dry. There's a good scenario there to grow some thyme. Now, even though generally thyme is quite hassle free, one thing you do have to watch out for is you need to give it good airflow. What happened here behind me, I've got the tops of the vegetable beds where it's a little bit more well drained, and I always have a row of thyme in this bed. And what happened was a couple of other vegetable plants got very big and sort of crowded out the thyme, and where there was a lot of moisture retentiveness in the environment and not enough light, you almost had this like dying back of the thyme. So it is one thing I'd say about thyme: it needs airy, light, warm environment. And you know, sometimes it really benefits from almost like a mulch of gravel around it. So if you're doing a Mediterranean scheme or something like that, a rocky environment, it likes that extreme heat during the day and it doesn't like humidity. So that's just one thing to look out for there. But generally, as long as you keep it warm and sunny, it'll be having a good time. I'll be having a good time. Everyone will be happy. A great thing about this herb is it's evergreen. So picture the scenario: it's the middle of winter, you look outside and you generally think that's a no-no, there's not really going to be anything growing out there. How many times during the year, especially with a lot of winter cooking, stews and things like that, you actually want fresh herbs? And thyme, I mean, this will be green in the middle of winter, so you can come out and pick it when you want it and you still have that fresh herb. And it's the same with rosemary, and that's another good reason. They're just, you know, they're not just only sitting there not really taking much of your time. You can use them all throughout the year. And you know, it also has some medicinal qualities. If you want to boost the immune system and lower blood pressure, this is also beneficial for that. So I mean, you know, really I haven't really had to struggle to talk about this herb very much. It's very, very popular, and as I say, my whole philosophy when it comes to growing things is, if you have to make a fuss to grow it, that's one thing, but if you can just leave it there, it do multiple jobs for you and produce a food crop, then you really are on a winner. And I think thyme is a great crop for that. So there you have it. Thyme. It's a fantastic herb. It's great for difficult scenarios. It will colonise difficult areas. It's got a great aroma, and it's a great pollinator plant as well. So there you have it. Thyme. Get out there and grow some.